Hi friends, it's Diane. I'm jumping on here a couple minutes early just to make sure that we get going here okay without issues. And make sure that we have volume. Get going here. Oh, yay! Oh my goodness. Too exciting. It's always exciting when it works. So we can chat for a couple minutes then while we wait for the top of the hour. It's only 4 minutes. I think I can keep people occupied for 4 minutes without boring you. Okay. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Got your clocks turned ahead, which I forgot. Makes a lovely little glare here coming in because we have sunshine. So I think that'll move over here as we get going. I hope it's not going to be a problem. But if it is, I'm going to have to find a new setup for 10 o'clock a.m. So it's 9:57 and I'm Diane. You have found me at Boho Stamper. Welcome. If you're new to my videos, thanks for tuning in, even if you found me by mistake. If you enjoyed today, please share and like the video. I will upload this to YouTube after we finish today. And I will then add dimensions for all of the paper pieces in the comments on Facebook, and I will add them to the description in YouTube, so you'll have all of the dimensions if you need them. And if you have been with me in the past, welcome back. I'm glad that you're spending a little bit of time with me. We're going to do 3 cards today. I'm going to go through the first 2 are not hard at all. So I'm going to focus time on the 3rd one, which will be our shaker card. And we still have our shopping code here until the, I forget, I think it's the 24th. I keep the shopping code out on my website, so when it changes, I will put it there. So if you need to get any of your stamps or supplies here for Easter cards, please use the shopping code. That really does help us when I'm trying to get some extra gift items or things to share with my customers. So my stamp set that I'm going to start with today, make sure this is in frame, is His Love. This is really a very pretty stamp set. If you need one for Easter, I highly recommend this. It's beautiful. I mean, the images you're going to see on, I'm using the cross, and the images are really beautiful. And then my dilemma for next week is the other stamp set for next week, just in case you want to jump ahead and get that. Doggone it, I thought I had it marked. Is the little lamb. And I don't have the new stamp set, but I have our Welcome Easter set, which has a little lamb. So now my dilemma is, do I hurry up and order the new one so that it gets here, or do I use the one that I have? And I think I'm going to use the one that I have. Oh, I know. It's in the other catalog, I think. It is. Where did I put that? I had everything marked for us this morning. Or do I use the one that I have, because Easter's not that far off? And I tend to use more religious type cards, but I do like to have the little lambs and bunnies and eggs. You know, it's all part. Easter's my favorite. I would make Easter cards. Oh, there it is. My goodness. This one. Springtime Joy. So there's the little lamb on that one. And I thought maybe next week I'll use my little lamb, and I can always add flowers. So this week anyways, like I said, we're going to start with His Love. This does not have a die set. And so what we need today is a mask to cover up the cross when we're going to do our ink blending. All 3 cards today are using kind of the same technique. Each one is different in its own way, but we're going to use our blending brushes and ink. And the first one we're going to fade the ink out, whereas the other ones we're going to blend some colors. So here is our first card today. And what I meant by the mask was I'm going to stamp my cross onto a piece of basic white and then add the color. So because I don't want the cross to have ink on it, we're going to mask that off. I also changed up a little bit here. I thought that that white panel would have benefited with maybe a purple mat under it, and the flowers wouldn't be quite so distracting from the cross. So we'll change that a little bit. So we'll get started on this. And I'm using just a, I don't know what this is, like a Teflon-y mat. This is just my mat that I use, that I get ink all over. And to create a mask, I did mine just on a piece of, you don't want it to be thick, so either copy or paper, or I just used a piece of, I don't even think this is our cardstock, this is just a piece of scrap paper that I had. I stamped my image, and then I cut out close to the image of the cross. I didn't go around the outside edges. I want it to be very close. And then, and you can do this on masking paper. I didn't have any, so I just make my own. I stamped the image onto a piece of scrap paper, and then I used my Tombow Mono Multi liquid glue, and I smeared it all over the back. I used my little silicone mat here, and I smeared it all over and set it aside to dry. And when you do that with Tombow, it leaves a sticky, removable mat. So that's what I'm going to use for my mask. And then when I'm done with them, I just put them back in here, and then I can use them again until the stickiness wears off. All right, so, and I was smart. I wrote down all my measurements today, so you could be proud of me. Our base is, of course, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that I've cut in half and then scored and folded, and that gives us a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. I'm using Gorgeous Grape. I'm going to use a piece of Designer Series paper. This was from our Hydrangea Hill suite, and you can use whatever paper you like that you have, and if it has a different shade of purple in there and you want to use a different purple for your card base, remember, make your cards the way you want them to be. So my Designer Series paper was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then I did cut another panel to layer on here, so we'll see how that looks. I think it's going to be a little bit better. That panel was 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. My original card, I had cut my image out with my, oh, how do I always forget the name? I use them almost every week. My dies, my dainty dies. But I may just put my cross directly onto a square piece of paper and then stamp my greeting right below it. So I think that's probably where we're going with that. I didn't want to use Memento black ink. I felt that that was too harsh. And so I'm using gray granite, which is just a bit lighter and won't leave us such a bold image on our white cardstock. And so I know I'm going to put my greeting on the lower part of this, so I'm going to move this up just a tad. I think on my first card, like there's Gorgeous Grape ribbon under the greeting, and you can't even really see it. It's almost just too much purple, and I love purple, so that's, for me to say that, there must be too much purple. Wipe off my stamp here. Well, that's taking a second for that ink to dry. Yep, our last card is going to be the shaker card, and it does take a little bit of concentration. So I want to get through these. I'll put the mask over my cross now. And here's why you want to make sure you cut your image close to the lines, because now when we are using our ink and brushes, purple, if we had too much of a border around that, it would leave a white border around our cross on our stamped image, and I don't really want to. If you want a white border, you can do that. Remember, when you're using your brushes and adding ink to your paper, it might not look like your paper is getting a lot of ink, but you want to start very lightly and you can build up your color. There's usually more on there than what it looks like when you're adding, and when you take away the mask, you're going to be able to see the color. So typically we would start on the corner and work our way in, but I want to fade my ink out. And so I'm using a paper towel so that I don't get fingerprints in my ink. I'm going to tap a little bit off just so I don't get a stark spot in the middle. And I'm going to start in the middle and then just lightly work my way out. And I'm just going to make a halo a little bit around my cross. I don't want a whole lot of color on this one. I just want a little bit of purple behind my stamped image. And using blending brushes it really is my favorite thing. I love how the ink on the paper might look a little splotchy at first, but as it dries into the paper, it just becomes so soft. Now, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of ink on here, but when we remove our mask, there's plenty. Okay. And save my mask for next time. We can use whatever sentiment. I love Rejoice and Be Glad, but it really is too big for what we're doing on here. I'm going to use Faith on my next one. So this one, this was out of my little lamb set. I just took Happy Easter, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I was happy with that. And we, again, can either use the gray granite or the Gorgeous Grape. And I used Gorgeous Grape on the first one. I'm going to use the gray granite on this one. Again, toning down some of the purple. A little bit on the edge of that stamp, and I don't want it to transfer to my card. I think I'm going to be very happy that I switched my ink to this. I think I like it better with the gray. But you can see where I think the Memento black ink would have been a little bit too dark, too stark. Trying to keep this very soft and muted colors on here, I guess. I want the cross to be like the focal point. And then I can start layering my card. We'll put our designer paper onto the card base. Ooh, don't rip my paper. Don't rip my paper. I'm using Stampin' Seal Plus on this. And getting that centered. And I think I will add my ribbon. And do I want to trim that down just a little bit maybe, huh? I wasn't quite sure if I was going to add my Gorgeous Grape or not. And do I want my ribbon on the top of all of this? On my original one, I have some ribbon down here under the greeting, and you can't see it. Let's see. Oh, I know what I could do. I can keep this towards the top and maybe tie a bow around the bottom. I think that's a plan. Yeah. And I'm going to cheat on this and use my little bow maker so that I can keep this small. The center. I didn't get it in the center. There we go. And now I can just put this across the bottom of my purple mat and glue it on the back. Yeah, so the shaker card that we're going to do here, I do shaker cards sometimes, not all the time, but it's not new to me. And what I meant by focusing on that, I was putting my one together yesterday for today's cards and looked down and I was thinking, what am I doing? I was putting the wrong layers together, and I had been concentrating more. I was meeting my sister and my cousin for dinner yesterday, and we haven't seen, well, we haven't all been together since COVID, and we were finally going to get together. My cousin was here from Texas, is still here today actually. She comes to check in and take care of her dad's needs, and so when she's home we do try to get together. Well, we used to try to get together. I could have moved that down a little bit more. And I was concentrating on that and putting my shaker card together. Just, I don't even know what I was doing. Thank goodness I was able to better. Okay, I wasn't going to use dimensionals on anything today except a shaker card, but now I'm going to. I'm going to add dimensionals to this panel and pop it up on. It's pretty bad when I change my mind after I've made a card, but we're allowed to change our minds, right? Sometimes I make it and I look at it and think, oh, I wish I'd have done that. So when we do our lives here on Monday, that's my chance to see which way I like it best. And now this card was not hard to make. This was just done with a stamp set and ink and some designer paper. So there's some inspiration for a beautiful Easter card that you don't have to have a lot of products for. And that again was using His Love, which is available in the catalog. Speaking of which, reminder that the catalog is going to switch over here in May. And so if you are not a current customer of Boho Stamper and you've not shopped with me and you need a catalog, you can email me at Diane@bohostamper.com and I will get a catalog to you. We'll start getting those ready to mail out in April. Second card is also ink blending. And here is that Magenta Madness again. Remember, this is the pink that did not speak to me at first. And boy, I've been using this like it's my favorite color. So I guess I liked it a little bit more than I thought. So for this one, our card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to make this a top folding landscape card. Okay, I'm doing this one, and that is because of the die that I'm using. And you can use any die that you have with an opening in the background, because this panel is 4 by 5 1/4, and I have another panel that's 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to do some ink blending on the background of this so that it stands out underneath the die. And this one, rather than fading our ink out, we're going to blend some of the color. And then in my die set, and this was not that one over here, I'm using, this was the Petal Labels dies. And I don't think that this one is still available, but I just went through all my die sets. I pulled out anything that had an opening. And I also was looking for greetings fonts. I have a card I'm going to do next week with some font. But you can use just a regular rectangle or circle, square, whatever you have, and cut your die out, because we're going to put our greeting on the blended ink background. So that's going to show up under anything that, any shape that you have. This die set also had a smaller circle, and I cut one out of basic white to put in the middle of my card around my greeting. So again, we're gonna pick, let me see, I have pink, and I wanted my greeting to be highlighted in yellow, sort of a halo effect again. And so this is Pineapple Punch, I think that's what I was using. Yep. And I'm going to use my blending brush. I think I have to get a new Pineapple Punch. I might have abused this one a little bit. I don't know that there's much left. And I'm starting in the center. And again, remember, this is going to blend out, and you'll have more ink on here than you think you do. Tapping a little bit off so that I don't have a splotch in the middle of my paper. And then I'm just letting it lighten up as we go towards the outer edge. So now I have a pretty yellow highlight in the middle where I can put my Easter greeting. And I will take Magenta Madness pink, pink, pink. I guess I'm using this for red and pink. I'm going to tap my brushes into my ink, tap it off a little bit. This is where I want to use my paper towel so that I don't get fingerprints. And for this, I'm going to start from the outer edge and work my way in. Now, some of your outer edge is going to be covered up with your die cut piece. But I'm going to work at getting my pink blended into the yellow, leaving that little bit of a yellow halo there in the center. When you're tapping off, that ink stays on the mat a little bit, so if you need just a little tiny bit of ink, you can always pick that up off of your mat with your brush and just add it to your blending. Okay, so now I have some pink around the outside. When I put my die cut on here, my pink is going to show. Try to blend my edge a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in with my yellow and highlight that center a little bit more. I feel like I'm getting a little lump there from the fold in my mat. And you can see where the orange and the yellow and the pink do blend together a little bit. They didn't really make an orange, is what I wanted to say. They just kind of fade into one another. So again, that's the beauty of blending brushes. So this is going to be the background, and I want my ink to set for just a minute here so that it soaks into the paper. And again, I didn't want to use a dark, harsh color, so I went back to Gray Granite. And from His Love Again, I think I did the first one Faith. I think I'm going to do this one with Hope. Unless it's too small. There it is. Oh, my glare has moved off, so that'll be okay. I don't have to worry about moving stuff around here out of the windows. Far from complaining about sunshine. Hope. A little mask is hanging out the edge there. Get over. It's sticky. Now I can add my die cut to my back panel. Can trim the back panel down a little bit as needed, and I think I will because I don't want it hanging over the edges. So I'm going to just trim a little bit off. Probably just need about a 1/16 of an inch off of the length and the width just to get it behind our die cut. And that's going to depend on what shape of a die you've used. That's better. I also want to make sure I don't get ink on the front of my card. I want that to stay nice and white. So I think I'm going to move this over while I'm putting that together. And I'm going to just use some of my Tombow liquid glue. And you can add a couple spots. For my particular die anyways, some of these little flowers pop up. But I don't want the glue to show all over, so just teeny tiny dots. Trying to think too if there's anything new and exciting to share. If anybody watching is new, I do offer a monthly mystery card challenge, and it's on my Boho Stamper Facebook page. Oh, up here. Try not to get my hands in all the glue. And in the albums, there is an album for the month of March, and in that album will be the dimensions for this month's mystery card. Great. Okay. And if you want to play along, you just make your card and send a picture or upload it to that album, and you'll be eligible for a prize. And that'll be at the end of the month. Great. I think Hope was going to fit in there nice. Let me get my mat. And I don't trust myself. I was going to put my center down first, but if I get ink on it, then it's going to be a mess. So at least if I get ink on it before I glue it, I can cut another one. Just to be safe. Yep, making Easter cards is one of my favorite. I love Easter. And I shouldn't say we had because there still are, but we have had in Stampin' Up! Just some of the prettiest Easter sets and stamps. Now I just want to glue my center die around my greeting there. And just add a little dots of glue around here. That's a little heavy. I opened a new glue bottle because my other one was getting kind of low and I didn't want to have to struggle while we were doing a video. So I opened a new one, and now if I squeeze it, it comes out really fast. Should use my tweezers to pick this up so that I don't get glue all over, but you know, what fun is that, right? Just lay that around my Easter greeting there in the center. And then we can add that to our front. And you can do that either with a tape runner or liquid glue, whichever you prefer. Got a little glue speckle up there. There we go. And there's our second card. And I did finish the first one off. I'll have to go back and do that for this one as well. I'll just give the glue a few minutes to stick down there, but look how the ink just blends off of there so nice. Happy with that one. Okay, and then our third one is pieces everywhere. Our shaker card today. And I just think that's going to be really fun. If you don't want to use this as an Easter card, you can use the same technique and just change your greeting up to be happy spring, happy birthday, whatever you want. But pretty spring card. See the shaker sequins inside. I like doing shaker cards because I don't use sequins on the tops of my cards a lot. I like sequins. I just don't always use them on my cards. So this is my favorite way of using them, is in a shaker. All right. And again, you can use any dies that you have that have an opening. While I was going through all of my Easter stuff, and I still don't have everything Easter-wise pulled out, but I found this little bunny die. Isn't it cute? And I think when they're in, when I have them in little packets like this, it's usually because they came in a kit. But I cut him out because I wanted to see what he was going to look like, and he would make a great shaker card. You know, maybe not in yellow, but you know, put them on there and put some little sprinkles or something in the background. And so any card you have with an opening is going to work for a shaker card. And I'm using, and I was playing around with foam adhesive sheets, and that didn't work so well, but I kept my stuff. Sending Flowers dies. That's what I'm using. And in this die set, we had a circular floral die, and then we had some, if I can get them out, there's some dies here that just cut out small flowers, and so I used those, and just out of scrap pieces of paper, different colors, I cut out a bunch of little flowers and put them in my dish that we can use. Has a couple of little border or sentiment dies also. I didn't use that on this card. I used, because I used a very small greeting, I also found another little square die. And I think I have square dies, but this one has a little bit of a scallop to it, so I used it instead. So this card started with a Balmy blue card base, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, again, our usual, and we're going to make this one a portrait. Where did I just throw that bone folder? Here. Portrait side opening card. Okay. In the essence of time, I ran that die through my die cutting machine already, and this is what that looks like. Then we have to pull out where it cut carefully so that I don't rip off any of the flowers. Okay. I'll put my base up there, and then I used my little pokey tool to, where did it go now? There. Poke out the little flower centers and small pieces that didn't come out. So we're going to need a piece of basic white the same size as our front panel, and these basic white ones are also 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. They are the full size of the front of the card. So you need 2 pieces of basic white, one for your die cut piece and then one for our backing. So it will be like this. I'm going to brush my back panel with blue to make it a bit of a sky background. Depending on the dye that you have and might be using, can change up your color to suit whatever your needs are. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the Balmy blue. And make sure I get that pink off of there. My sky's going to be pretty purple. I'm not going to make it very dark, but I do want it to look like a sky in the background behind my flowers. So starting off the edge of my paper, just adding some color. There's my little towel. And remember, your ink is more than likely going to look a little bit spotty and speckled on your paper. That's all going to blend in, and it won't look like that as it dries. So don't panic and think you're doing it wrong. And again, the bottom on this one won't matter so much because the flowers are going to be on top of it, as well as my my Easter greeting. So I'll get a little bit more up here in the top, and we'll call it good. Okay. And while I'm have my mat out here, I want to give my stems and leaves a little bit of a green brush here. The flowers won't matter if you get a little bit of green on them because I'm going to cover them up with the little floral dies that I cut out. So I'm just using my green and adding a little bit of ink. Oh, I wish I wouldn't have got it there though. Darn it. picking up the stems and getting those colored in. Okay, and that'll be it for ink blending and brushes. I have an acetate piece somewhere, there it is. And my acetate I cut to the same dimensions as my background, my basic white card. So that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You can, if you want to save, you're being a little bit more conservative and you want to save your acetate, you can cut it down a little bit if you want to. I just chose to make it the full size of my background because my sides are so narrow here, and I want to make sure that when I go to put my sequins inside that I'm secured really well on the sides. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is fill in our little flowers. I don't want to glue once I have the acetate on there because that glue will make little spots on the acetate. So let me sit down here so I can, I saved all the little dots out of my flower centers because I just wasn't sure I was going to fill them in. And I'll just add a little bit of, there it comes splotching out again, little dots of glue, and I can go through and add my flowers. I did try, last week, I tried to do my first YouTube live. This is coming out pretty fast. And I ended up deleting it. It worked, but I should have my mat under there. I must have the speed set wrong because it was almost like a stop animation. When I was watching to see how it worked, my video was not where I wanted it to be. So I'm going to continue working at that so that I'm working towards getting my Facebook Lives and YouTubes together so that I could do it live on both platforms. And I'm practicing on the YouTube one with a fun fold card. I also thought maybe I'll do like a Friday, 15-minute Fridays or something where we can put on there the supplies that would be needed to just create maybe a 15-minute card. So that's my plan. But anyways, I was working on these fun fold cards and I was so excited when I found it finally. I wanted to make, I think it's called a ruffle fold or a drapery fold, either or, I guess. Whatever. I think a lot of times different designers call the same fold something different. Oh, is that a little one? That's a little one. Let's move that over. Oh, there we go. Better. And it came out really cute. So I do want to share that as soon as I figure out how to make a decent looking video. Every day is a learning experience with it. But I guess if you don't learn something new, then today's just like yesterday, right? So I'm just picking out any of these flower dies that add my little bowl, and adding them to my front panel. Trying to do it before my ink dries. Oh, no tulip, a big flower. I need a big flower. Big yellow flower. Nope, you're a little one again. Oh, do I not have another big one? I have a big pink one there. That'll work. And a small one. Am I not seeing things here? I think that purple one's too small. Oh, I guess we're gonna have to do, oh, come on, stick. That's too big. Oh, there's a big one, see? That's what I needed before. All right, did I get them all now? Oh, a little tulip. I'm missing a little tulip there. Okay. All right, there's our flowers. Get these out of the way. Okay. Save these for another one later. Now I can add my acetate to the back of that. So really, the only unique supply you need for a shaker card is your acetate. And I had talked, I think it was St. Patrick's Day, I did a shaker card. And I had mentioned you can use, if you don't have sheets of acetate, the packaging that you get, like blueberries or spinach or whatever in, that's acetate too. So if you wash those off, you can keep those little panels and do shaker cards. And then I'm going to layer that on the back of my die cut panel. And that's the beginning of our sandwich that we're going to make. So this will be the front, and our sky panel is in the back, and we're going to put our sequins in the middle there to be a shaker card. A little purple flower moved around. Okay, stay there. So what we have to do now is create a little pocket to put our sequins in. And I'm going to use, this is Stampin' Up's foam adhesive strips. You can use any kind of foam adhesive you have. And like I said, the die that I used left me very little space in between my die cut area and the edge of my card. And that's one reason I wanted to use these strips, because they're very thin. And so we need to make our top panel have some dimension, because we're going to have dimension around our die cut area to keep the sequins in there. Does that make sense? So I'm adding a border around my whole card. Now I'm going to make my encasement for my sequins. And when I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I don't have open spots where the sequins can fall out. And this was another reason I like these thin strips, because I can bend them, curve them around my circular die cut area. Keep my little pieces, because if we see any openings where the sequins might shake out of there, we can add the extra pieces. Doesn't really matter too awfully much right there, because we have foam on the outside. Now if I'd have put my foam around my center first, I might not have left myself enough room on the edges here. That's why I did my outline. And then I'm going to add, just so I don't end up with any saggy spots on the front of my card, I'm just going to put a couple strips of the foam on the top here, so that it will be the same thickness as the rest of the card. Okay. I suppose we can add just a little here so we don't get any saggy spots on the front. Okay. Before you remove the backing, because now when we add our sequins, if you have your backing off, your sequins are going to stick to it. So have whatever sequins you want to use. I don't know. This was from Woven Threads. I think that's what I used in my original one. I don't know what this is from. No idea. I'm going to add those. And I think I want a little bit more, so I'm going to use some from the other packet as well. Just add my springy colors in here. You can add little tiny beads or glitter or whatever you want. If you use glitter, I would suggest you get the eco-friendly glitter. I know it's frowned upon, but there is some out there that is safe for the environment, so you just got to look for it. It's there. And get my sequins off of the sides. Now we can remove the backing. I'm going to try to have most of those in the middle while I do this. Oh, there's some little pearls in that one too. That's cute. And the hardest part that we're going to do on this card is trying to get our blue panel even with this panel. the hardest part about the whole card. It's just trying to line it up. But we can do it. That and not fling your sequins all over the room. That could be bad too, I guess. Have that one off. Yep. So off. All right, I think we're ready to add our back panel. To remember which, I think this was my bluer side, so that goes towards the top, not that you're going to see it anyway. And look at that. You have a shaker card. Aren't they fun? Oh, you have the shaker anyways. We still have to add it to the card. Okay, I'm going to add a blue ribbon around the top. Again, I'm going to just use my... I tied that last one, but I wasn't doing it while I was on camera, so it went much easier. If I try to do it now, I'll probably make a mess of my bow, so we're just going to cheat and do it on the bow maker. I left the tails long enough so I could wrap it around the back. And we can make the center of our bow stay on the front where we want it with a glue dot here when we're done. I keep getting them too low today. Oh, come on. Oh, no wonder I have those way too low. So this wasn't supposed to be the hardest part, adding a bow. Oh, what is she hollering about? Let's see here. And I'm going to trim a little bit of this off the back. And have my Balmy blue card base. I am going to use liquid glue on this one because I don't want any of my panel to come off. And you're not going to see any of the ridges from the glue anyway because we have a lot on top of it. Oops, sorry. And it will let me move it around a little bit by using liquid glue to make sure I have it where I want it. Where did I put those glue dots? I'm just going to add glue dot to make my, I think I am. Is it on there? No, I can't see. Where are you? Oh, it's on my pokey tool. I didn't think it came off. Oh, it's sticking to my finger. And we'll add our Easter greeting on the bottom of our card. And for that, we just used a piece of Whisper. Oh, I don't want to use a whole sheet there. Goodness. What did you find down there? What were you hollering about? And this one I had Easter greetings. Oh, that came from... Here's another one that would make a great Easter card. Aren't these characters cute? Fable Friends, that was last year, I think. I never did make this duckling set. I started one time and I used our stitched rectangle dies to cut it out and didn't realize they're pretty sharp. So I was making that card with the little ducklings and I kept seeing little spots of stuff all over my paper and I kept thinking, where's that ink coming from? And then I realized that I had nicked my finger on that stitched rectangle die and had a mess going on. So by the time I got everything all cleaned up, I just said forget it. I wasn't gonna, and I never ended up going back and making that card. I'm gonna move this aside for a minute so I don't get it inky. And I'm stamping Easter greetings just in Balmy blue. Doesn't matter if it's crooked because I'm gonna die cut it out. But anyways, the little Fabled Friends, excuse me, I know I made a lot of the bunny cards. Not the bunny is adorable. I'm all things bunny. Put our ink away so it doesn't get on anything. And let me get the mini boss out here. Come here, little fella. And this is the mini emboss and die cutting machine. And like I said, I just used this small square die. And then I decided too that I wanted it to stand out a little bit more than it did. So I'm gonna give you a little trick here. The small square that I had was actually too small. And if it does cut it out, it's gonna cut it out right on the edge of my greeting, and I didn't want to do that. The next larger one is too big. It's gonna cover up too much of my flowers, so I didn't want to use that one. So I used the one that fit the best, which left me in a little bit of a pickle for my for a background panel. I don't know why I see a piece of yellow under there. That must have been from when I was cutting. Oh. What is that? It was. It's from when I was cutting flowers. All right, you're not going to mess up on me, so I'm just going to use a piece of tape. I got an email too. We had, when we got our magnetic plate for the new emboss and cutting machine, some of the magnetic plates were warping, and so they sent us out a coupon code to use for a discount, and I don't know if I didn't, I just got an email that I have a coupon code that's ready to expire, and I didn't remember getting it. So when I'm done here, I have to try to find that coupon code. And I do have some supplies to order, so that's going to come in handy. Okay, and so then, like I said, because I wanted a little bit of a background to make this stand out, I just used the same size of square die that I just used for my reading, and sorry, it shakes the whole table. Put this guy away. And I just took that piece of Balmy blue and cut it in half. Okay. And you can do this, I could have cut it in half the other way if I wanted to, so that you'd have blue on the top and bottom rather than on the sides. But I'm going them on the sides. There's a flower. Oh, why did you just rip my paper again? Darn it. I know, I'm pulling it too fast. I think I'll put a dab of liquid on there to make sure that it stays. Then I can line my greeting up with just a very small border. Like I said, I'm doing it on the sides, but you could easily do this on the top and bottom. And that gives me a little bit of a blue border using the same size of a die that I used to cut out my greeting. Then some dimensionals. I'm using a couple extra on this because I'm going to hold my center together there where I have my blue cut, just so it doesn't come apart. Oh, I'm a little over today, I'm sorry. Well, you know, it happens. And I can add my greeting to the front of my card. And so there we have our shaker card. Aren't they fun? And not too hard. Just have to concentrate on what we're doing. And our blended ink background. And our faded out background. So a lot of ink blending today. And technique with a shaker card. I hope that you found it helpful and fun. And you'll go make some Easter cards. Remember, tune in next Monday and we'll do some more. If you're so inclined, remember to like and share. That really does help my boho stamper page to get out there when other folks are looking for how-to videos. So I can use all of the support and boosting that I can get there. And you guys have a wonderful, beautiful week. Enjoy the sunshine and warmer temperatures, and we'll hopefully see you again next Monday. Bye, everybody.